Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. It is time to have a look at the community update from Gaijin. This is a piece of news that they kind of always release before updates now, which give you an idea of what they're working on and also several factors that are going to be happening over the next few months. So this is the 9th one that they've done. We had the leaks yesterday, which pretty much spoiled a bunch of stuff in this, but at least it's worth kind of going through. There is a bunch of different things which are happening. We'll start off with the returning stuff. So basically what you could do if you want is you can get some decals, which they've given out for free in these community updates. You got the no secret documents one and also just the secret documents decal. All you got to do is enter this on the Gaijin store in the activate code area. There's also a new decal, which is the Nigel was here decal, which is just very similar to Kilroy was here. I think it's a nice homage to it. So you can pick this up and you can see this is what it looks like on the Mosquito. Unfortunately, Nigel was changed a few years ago. Maybe he'll come back, but yeah, he lost his iconic mustache and it was replaced with an unfortunate mask. So yeah, all you got to do is type in Nigel was here and you can get the code too. There's also another little thing which is also available, which is the War Thunder Community Update Pack. So you can get yourself the top secret avatar frame, top secret decal, and also top secret title, and 300 golden eagles. This is only $3.99. If you want, you can actually pick this up with my code, and you can get a discount on it, and also you can get my new decal and all of this stuff. The $3.99 is basically worth it just for the G itself, but it's also nice to get some additions too. So I'll leave a link to this in the description and also in the pinned comment of the videos. So let's get into this. We're going to do this in two parts, just because I think it fits better as two parts, just overall. Another thing I also want to mention just before we get started, they have announced the winners of the Senrai Maidens fan art contest. So if you are interested in that, you can go and check it out and see the art that people have created around these things. So yeah. And as always, if you enjoy this content, make sure to subscribe and also like the video. Let's get into it. There's a lot of interesting stuff coming at the end of the year. Obviously, with Gaijin, it's a busy time. It's the final update of the year. And then also what they do is they do the winter event, which is usually the largest nowadays of the major events. And this year is no different. We'll get into that in a little bit. But first of all, it turns out they've actually been testing new matchmaking rules without telling anybody over the last few weeks. So unfortunately, over the years in War Thunder, there's been quite a lot of people who have got annoyed at playing the same map twice in a row. Now, for me, this usually hasn't happened that much, but I will tell you a scenario where it does happen quite a lot. And I know this has affected a lot of content creators who have this kind of play style, the way that they play. So basically, in War Thunder, it feels like maps are on a rotation of time. So if you were queuing up within, let's say, 10 minutes of previously queuing up, you'd probably get on the same map again. So if you were a person who were bringing one vehicle to make videos on a specific vehicle, or if you only wanted to get good maps to be able to get good, gameplay, what would end up happening is you would spawn into one map, rush in, try and get some footage, die, and then you go into the next one and it would be the same map again, and it would just keep going because you're not spending enough time in those maps. But if you actually played out the game fully, it was actually something where you wouldn't see the same map that much. And because it seemed to be set on like a timer on that way. So if you were a person who was getting into a quote unquote new map every few minutes, it would put you on the same map over and over and over again. But if you were playing out the maps properly and actually, existing for 10, 15, 20 minutes, which is usually more the standard time, this wouldn't affect you. But what Gaijin have done now is they put in some new matchmaking rules where basically you will not get the same map twice over and over. You can see here that, you know, they obviously understand that some people get affected by the map pool, and they don't want to see the same stuff over and over and over again. And they've been testing a new system for at least 3 weeks on the live servers and gathering data in the meantime. So based on the matchmaking results and the data they've collected, the number of players experiencing a repeat map has dropped by orders of magnitude across the board. Now, that is pretty impressive if that's what they've been able to do, and it looks like they are going to continue to do this. But as I said, like for me, it never was a huge issue. It always just felt like however long you spent in the map, the longer you were, the better it was. And also, they do say here that, just as a reminder, the top 2 most disliked maps from players in the queue will be excluded. So it is good to like and dislike maps. It is good to ban one. I would actually like to know what you guys have banned when it turns to maps. Like for me personally, I have banned in ground Wallonia, because Wallonia is awful. Like if you spawn on that one side, it's just a loss. Like there's nothing you can really do about it, and that just kind of sucks. So that is a bit of a problem. But I would like to hear what you guys have gone, because it's kind of interesting to see. Another thing they're also doing in the December major update is continuing to battle one death leaving, and they're actually bringing in another new system to ground, which is pretty interesting. So for Ground Arcade and Ground Realistic, they're actually going to be bringing in a similar system that Naval has. And that is just wild. If you don't know how it works in Naval, when you go into Naval, you have access to 3 spawns for 3 naval vehicles. Now you can bring 3 naval vehicles, and also you can bring some aircraft if you want to bring them in. But also it actually gives you the option with aircraft to be able to spawn 2 random aircraft, 1 fighter and also 1 bomber. You can see here, this is how they talk about it. And these are just for a generic amount of SP points that you can grind out. And what they're doing is they're taking that and they're implementing it in ground. So for ground realistic battles, there'll be 2 options: a random spawn for tanks and another for SBAAs, while ground arcade battles will just have a tank option. And this will be happening at battles in lineups of 9-3 and above. So this is once again a mechanic where they are really, really trying to combat one death leaving. Even if you are a person who buys a high tier premium, you will be able to have access to this mechanic where you get an SBAA and also a random tank. Now, whether it will be spaded or not, whether it will be that useful or not, or what crew skills you'll have, at least you'll have something to spawn. They added in the daily universal backups recently, and also they've done millions of changes to try and stop one death leaving. This is just another one. Like, if we think about over the last few years what they've done. So they've made repair costs kind of a timed thing. So if you don't last very long in a vehicle, you won't pay as much repair costs as you would if you lasted longer. They've increased rewards for being in games longer as well, making activity and time more of a factor in terms of getting more RP and also more SL. They have added the daily backups, they've added more ways of getting universal backups, and now they are adding in the naval system to ground. So they really are just trying everything. They're trying everything to be able to try and get people to stay in the damn games. And at some point, it may work. But even I thought after the daily backups, it would work a bit better. But I don't know, maybe it's just the event going on, or maybe it's something else. But there's just been a lot of crushing going on in the high tiers of the maps. And it might just be because we had a premium sale and people just don't spawn in again. So this will mainly affect premium players, and it will mean that you just don't have to grind out lineups as much anymore, because you'll be just given vehicles without even thinking. So you can see here, as an example, in a 9-7 to 10-7 match, if you have a battle rating of 10-7, the random vehicle options will be between 9-7 and 10-3, while if you have a battle rating of 9-7, the options will be between 9-3 and 10-0. So this logic will apply universally across the board where possible. In cases where there is a limited number of vehicles available, The roster will include vehicles of lower BRs just to make sure there are enough options. So yeah, you're pretty much just getting 2 free spawns of vehicles, and this will count towards your research, this will count towards your SL, and will you have to pay repair costs for these types of vehicles? I don't know if in Naval you actually do have to pay repair costs, because I never really used the vehicles. But yeah, they've also added the same logic above to random aircraft spawns in naval battles. So they have, basically added in them closer in BRs, which I think is kind of fun. So yeah, you can see here, we hope that this new feature combined with free daily backups will give everyone more ability to stay in each match for longer and keep fighting until the very end. So they, as I said, they are trying everything to make people stay in battles. And I hope it works, because it's nice to have full battles. It's nice to have actually like proper battles going on. But at the same time, you will always run into people who do not want to be on that map and do not want to be in that battle. And that is a problem. This also will hopefully help people, stay in battles too, because they'll get more variance in maps, even if they quick die and then go into the next one. So yeah, it's just nuts. Like they're trying everything. They're just trying everything. And hopefully it works. So we also have some naval improvements in terms of mechanics. You won't believe it, but once again, Gaijin are changing how damage is calculated in naval. I know. You're looking at me and you're like, wow, this has never happened with Gaijin before. They've never done this. They haven't done this every single update for the last like 3 years. But yeah, so damage is being changed in terms of naval again. Shouldn't be too surprising, because as I said, they just do it all the time now. And what they're doing is they're attaching it now basically to crew. So before, it's kind of interesting how they actually word it. So vessels in War Thunder have effectively 2 types of damage mechanics: the durability of each section of the ship and the percentage of the crew. Previously, damage, and therefore rewards, was calculated based on how much damage was caused to the sections of the ship that contain crew, and not explicitly the crew itself. So this could lead to situations where players depleted 80% of a ship's crew, but has only caused 15% of the damage, which would lead only to 15% of the reward. So you know how nowadays in naval, if you hammer the same position on a ship over and over again, like a specific crew compartment, the way that the game simulates it is crew will eventually kind of bleed into that area that you've destroyed. Because, you still have to function in that area, so therefore your ship's crew has to go in there. So if you just keep hammering the same area over and over and over again, eventually the ship will sink. And that also means that you annihilate the crew along the way. But the problem is you wouldn't get any of the reward for that, because you were still hitting the same area. This is why I've always recommended, when you're going after ships, to not hammer specific areas. If you want to maximize score, and if you want to maximize SL and RP, you actually want to do a general hit across the whole vehicle. This is why HE has become so kind of useful for a lot of people, because you can get a nice arc of hits across the board, and you can hit a bunch of different compartments and a bunch of different things, and that would actually maximize your score. With this system, instead of it being focused on areas of the machine, it will just be focused specifically on the crew. So you can also see here, this is why you may have noticed that destroying coastal vessels provided much more damage points on the scoreboard, because of the difference in their damage model. So in the next update, the damage and all of the associated rewards will be tied completely to crew, and not to the sections of the damage model that contain crew. So this should make the process of damage and getting rewards much clearer, as crew is more tangible and convenient source of survivability. I don't know why they just didn't do this in the first place. It always, once again, I just feel like with naval and the damage mechanics and the calculations, they're just trying too hard. They need to just go back to basics, and this is a move to go back to basics. So thank God. Because every time I sit down and I try and explain how naval mechanics work, or I try and explain how different things work, people just look at me blankly like, why? Okay, so why have they done that? And it's like, I don't know. They just decided one day that they needed to revolutionize the world and change all the systems. And they just do it every update, so it's impossible to follow. And so now, linking damage just to crew, fantastic, wonderful. Keep it that way. Please don't change the way that damage works. Next update. I beg of you. Because it's impossible to follow. It's literally impossible. They're also adding the severe damage system. This is also cool. Very nice to see this too. So basically what happens with this mechanic, if you don't know how it works in air, if you do what is classed as severe damage to an aircraft, which is usually making it pretty much impossible to fly, so like taking out its control surfaces or smashing off a wing or taking out the engine or whatever, this is seen as severe damage. So if somebody else then destroys that aircraft after you've done that, you don't just get an assist, which is what you used to do in the old system. Instead, what it means is you get access to a kill. So the same ship can actually give 2 kills to two different players, which I think is much better because technically both of them did kill the target. So for Naval specifically, you'll be granted a severe damage credit by causing 50% crew depletion to a ship. So this will give you 50% of the kill reward the moment you receive the credit for severe damage. If you don't land the finishing blow, you'll still get the kill credit, which will be shared with the player who landed the final hit. And then also another difference in the mechanic for aircraft is that a ship won't be written off like severely damaged aircraft at the end of the mission. If you've been severely damaged but keep your vessel afloat until the end of the battle, a kill credit won't be given to the player that caused the damage. So this mechanic will be present for all vessels from boats to battleships. And I think this is really good. This is a fantastic change. Very happy that they've done this. And it just means that you get more credit for the work that you do. One of the biggest issues when it comes to Naval is hammering a machine, taking them down to like 5%, and then somebody just coming in and just smacking it once and getting a kill. And you're just sat there like, well, looks like, I kind of wasted my time going after this because I don't get a lot of the rewards. So this is fantastic. This is a really good change, really positive. Then also the heavy damage battle award, which is kind of fun. So this is caused when hitting other ships. So it's mainly focused around cruisers and battleships, but I'm sure it'll be able to happen in other areas too. So the new battle reward, it'll be named something like heavy damage and will be awarded for causing 30% crew depletion on large vessels, so cruisers and battleships. So the aim of the new medal is to give you an extra reward while you steadily bring down enemy ships and ideally give you motivation boost to keep raining the shells down. So it just gives you an extra bit of SL and also gives you a nice badge to tell you, keep shooting, you're doing a great job. And I think battle rewards in general are really good. They're nice little incentives to change the way that you play and also give, different vehicles a good incentive to do different things. Obviously, this one is just shooting stuff, but at the end of the day, that's what you're supposed to be doing in Naval. You're supposed to be destroying other vehicles, so therefore you should be rewarded for it. Not just through dailies and specials, but also through battle awards. So overall, these 3 things that they're putting together here are all very good. They're all great for Naval, and hopefully they reignite people's passions in it. For me personally, with the changes to the Naval aiming game mode in arcade, it has made it very tough to play and not really too interested in it. So that's all of kind of the mechanics stuff and also some of the additions that are happening. I think some of these are game-changing. Like this one, hopefully, will finally get rid of people quitting early. I don't think it will fully because there will be people who just want to move on to the next map, but at least it can help out. But overall, these are all very positive mechanical changes. So let me know what you think about them. Let me know how you envision them in the game. And in the next video, we'll have a look at the vehicles and all of the other stuff. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day. I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.